Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to that Fandom Show. First one of these in a little while. And tonight, we're going to be recording some material for the Legacy of Westeros YouTube channel that we run. Joining us for this episode, obviously, if we're doing Westeros content, we actually got a full house tonight. It doesn't happen often, but he's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Zach Arnold. What's going on, dude?
Zach attacked the weary traveler and just recently reclaimed his voice. Let me tell you what, I don't know what happened, but some allergies came through about a week ago, and I got laryngitis for the first time in forever. And let me tell you, there is no greater irony than when you set up all of your social media profiles as the username Zach the Voice, and then you lose said voice. Like, I was trying to do makeshift sign language and was probably insulting the ASL community more than I would like to admit. Just trying to make my order at the Wendy's drive-thru, man. So I am back, and I am so glad to be in this seat, in this capacity, and be talking about one of my favorite franchises. And like you said, full house. So it's triple the fun tonight.
Also joining us, he is my co-host over at the Colic Nation podcast. It's Ryan. What's going on, man? How you been?
Hey, Sean, I'm good, man. It's similar to Zach, weary traveler. I've been on the road for 3 weeks, nonstop, constantly moving along, and just happy to be home, happy to sleep in my own bed. Happy to actually be able to focus on some things I enjoy. As I know we just did a little NASCAR colleague action. Now we're dipping our toes into some House of Dragons. So all these fun topics. I'm super excited to actually have this conversation with everybody. It's been a while since we've had an opportunity to tag up and have a good time. So I'm looking forward to it.
It has been a while. In the time that has passed since we've done anything, we have found out that, well, the Jon Snow show is very much in development. They're taking not necessarily a step back, but they want to make sure that they're doing it right. And so that's getting some extra polishing and more times being spent on that. It has not been ordered for a series yet. We know that they're spending some extra time on A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I know their original intent was to have that out for 2025. We'll see if they're able to hit that. And then obviously House of the Dragon Season 2 is done filming and well into the editing stages and eyeing what sounds to be an early summer 2024 release. So maybe it won't be August. Maybe it'll be late June, early July. We'll have to wait and see. But lots going on in Westeros at the moment, including they're looking for a renewal, not just of Season 3, but of Season 4 as well. That's what they would like. That's what they prefer. They've indicated that to WBD. And that tells me that they would like to film seasons 3 and 4 back to back.
I think you're onto something there, especially with the idea that they're going to be possibly going with fewer episodes moving forward. We've already discussed previously that this is looking to be an 8-episode season, but the episodes are probably going to be a little bit longer. So if they have the opportunity to keep everybody under contract for, let's say, 6 to 8 months instead of 3 to 4 months, just keep filming and keep going with the content that you've been working on, possibly behind the scenes, and just keep pumping out content. I mean, it's not an unheard of precedent. If you take a look at franchises like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, they filmed all of their things consecutively, and it was able to come out, 2001, 2002, 2003, boom, 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 had 3 really great films. It's entirely possible to film a couple of seasons back to back and work on getting one edited, and then as that one is releasing, you're editing the next season and getting it ready for something several months later. I think it would also indicate to me that Season 2 could end on a pretty high, or Season 3 rather, could end on a pretty high cliffhanger where you need answers in Season 4 and you need it sooner than what traditionally gets released.
Well, we also know that George R.R. Martin just sat down recently with Ryan Condal and other writers involved in the series to begin mapping out seasons 3 and 4, not just Season 3. So they're pretty set on wanting to do both at once. And honestly, for a company like WBD, that should probably interest them right now. They've been trying to save a lot of money any way they can. They're getting ready to put a bunch of it into rights deals for various things. So to me, I know some people might not get this, and we'll get to the exciting stuff in a second, but if you're filming back to back, there are savings in that. I know some people might not think so, but there's a difference between putting all your resources into one can and knocking it all out at once, and putting them into one can and then coming back 2 years later and doing the exact same thing. Because most of the time, anyways, in this industry, once you come back 2 years later, things are just going to be more expensive as we go. I hope they get it done. It would make a lot of sense before they move on to telling new stories in House of the Dragon. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Without further ado, though, was it last week or the week before? Zach, you would know. You were at the airport. So how long ago did the House of the Dragon Season 2 teaser come out?
2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago. And it doesn't feel like 2 weeks ago because the excitement level has just kind of stayed very, very steady. I've seen a lot of activity on different social media. I've seen a lot of speculation and talk on some of the different forums that I'm a part of, and it has been ongoing. And I think that's a testament of how excited people are for this second season, and how many answers they still need. It's kind of surprising how many people are invested in this franchise while simultaneously have no idea what to expect next. They haven't read the Wiki of Ice and Fire. They haven't read the book. And so they're sitting there, especially on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, speculating out the wazoo about what's going to happen in this next season. And I'm like, I can kind of tell you. I've got source material I could tell you from, but I'm not going to be that guy. So it's kind of fun to see all of the different discussions while also having a little bit of inside knowledge just from this show, from the source material, and being aware of what kind of exciting things we can look forward to in just a few short months.
We need like a meme of someone or a group of people like yelling at season 1 of House of the Dragon, being like, "You went too far," and then like season 2 is in the background saying, "Hold my beer," because that's the type of social media discourse that's going to be out there once this season hits, knowing a couple of the events that do happen. Ryan, we're going to get ready to watch the teaser here, but your thoughts so far on what you've seen and heard of House of the Dragon season 2?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to touch on the filming of potentially seasons 3 and 4 together, and this is something we actually did touch on the last time we got together, was just how long it's been since season 1 aired to where we are now with season 2 finally approaching. That, at least you have the opportunity, if you film them together, to have a little bit tighter schedule to keep people, I think, ready and antsy just for that for the next set of episodes, because some of the speculation we're seeing on social media is because people are bored. They want more. They're craving it, and it's been such a long wait since season 1 ended, and now we're kind of getting into that period of season 2 is around the corner. People are starting to just throw theories out there because they're excited for more and they want to see it. So it's one of those deals where the more they tease, the more we're going to speculate, the more we're going to kind of go down these rabbit holes and kind of, maybe some people will get it right, but there's a lot of people that, as you said, Zach, don't really know the material, and they're going down the wrong path, and their mind is going to be blown. And that's the part we're all excited about. So I am super excited. This teaser trailer just got my appetite wet, and I'm ready for more.
Did you freeze up, bud? Or are you waiting for me to say something?
No, I thought you were going to jump in.
You froze hardcore, and I was like, I really don't want to be talking over him. I really don't. Especially with that kick-ass background you got, man. You have got some of the best background game in the business. I'll tell you, like, I just need like some spiky hair to show up through the door behind you. I'm with you, Ryan, that it's super entertaining. Like, it's almost as entertaining to see the bored people on the internet try to come up with theories as it is to actually know what's on the horizon. Like, if you read the Wiki of Ice and Fire about the Dance of Dragons, it's segmented into different key components of the overarching storyline. And there is one particular element that just took place in the season 1 finale. And then the next segment that gets talked about in the Wiki of Ice and Fire is the thing that we are going to be getting in the first couple of episodes of season 2. And I don't know how spoilery we want to get tonight, Sean, but I am particularly intrigued about the way that they're going to execute that particular scene, if you catch my drift. Pun and wording completely intended.
Well, I don't want to dive into what exactly that scene is, but I will say this. That scene will be a scene that's talked about not just the morning after on social media, but that night, and it's going to be the talk of like the big event. But I also think there's going to be a discourse whether that should have been shown at all or not.
It will be the red wedding of this show.
100%.
Let's say a decade later, right? That key integral moment that I think really made Game of Thrones is about to occur here, and that is super.
You know
super
what's
exciting.
crazy? Is I think you're right. I think the Red Wedding aired in 2014. It might have been 13. I might be getting confused when Game of Thrones started now.
So I'm looking at the episode lists, and it's showing June of 2013.
June,
so
okay.
that but still, think about it. That iconic episode is a decade old. It is a decade old. And here we are 10, 11 years later anticipating something that is going to be on that level. Like, it was really cool seeing a guy get beheaded from behind. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that scene was also one of those, oh my god. But to have this kind of anticipation for what's coming with season 2, I think whetting the appetite, wetting your whistle is a good way to describe this teaser, which is literally what it's supposed to do. That is exactly what a teaser is supposed to do, is kind of get you ready for what's to come without giving away too much. And I feel like this teaser that they showed us a couple of weeks ago displays that perfectly.
Oh, with that said, let's take a peek at the teaser. We'll probably have to break it down in 3 parts.
Were made in the hours following King Westeros' death.
The war be fought. Many will die. And the victor will eventually ascend the throne.
There is no war so hateful to the gods. It's a war between kin.
Anybody see anything that stands out so far?
Oh, there's so much in that, man. There's so much in that.
We can go back to a frame if there's something specific.
About a war between kin. Like, some of it is just the phrasing. The idea that the gods hate a war between kin, and yet that is exactly what we are walking towards. It puts a religious spin on it that I really don't feel like was a part of the Game of Thrones in the previous show. There were some that worshiped the old gods. There were some that worshiped the new. You had the religious zealots in the middle of the show that kind of made things difficult on King's Landing. But it wasn't so much like, oh, the gods are blessing these people and they're cursing these people, and they hate the way that Robb Stark is fighting and they love the way that Tyrion masterminds things. Like, religion was kind of an afterthought in the fight for the throne. And the fact that they're making it a critical, integral component of a war between kin, I think definitely has the potential for a lot more drama than what we've already got.
Ryan, how about you? Anything stand out in the first part of this trailer?
Yeah, and I think Zach just touched on it. It's just the way they very intentionally crafted words, the phrases, and even even just digging into the music behind it, how it had the intention, and really just hits you right in the chest, right? Like, yeah, this is building up to something more, massive than anything we've ever really seen before. So, from my perspective, as somebody that doesn't know the source material nearly as well as you guys does, just seeing this trailer, understanding the magnitude behind what they're trying to convey to me is what hits home the most.
Here's the other thing that I would point out about this first portion of the teaser. There are a lot of sequences of like war councils where you're seeing the table at Dragonstone, and you're hearing the conversation between Otto and his daughter, and you know that there's all sorts of scheming and plotting and planning involved. And there's plenty of shots of soldiers as well. There's probably like at least 5 or 6 frames of soldiers lining up or marching into battle. And if there was ever a war where the soldiers, the foot soldiers, are probably the most insignificant part of the battle, it would be the dance of dragons. It's really all about who's got the superior dragon power. It's really about being able to position your dragons in the right part of the continent in order to maintain security of your borders, and then being able to advance and strategically strike everybody else's dragons. Like, foot soldiers are important, yeah, but one breath of the right dragon and those foot soldiers are gone. We saw that in season 7 of Game of Thrones. Like, one dragon took out a very, very powerful foot soldier army. These shots of foot soldiers are meant to get us excited about the war, but I also feel like it's kind of deceptive in the concept that we really don't need foot soldiers in a dragon war.
Right. Listen, the size and the magnitude of these various armies, and how they're, it's all about, being able to take ownership, right? Being able to say this is our land, but at the end of the day, they're just conscripts in this fight. That they are, they might be well trained, but they're just nothing. They're puny in the grand scheme of this. And when you really get dragons in it, right? The Battle of Dragons, that's it. That's the crux of the whole story, and that's where the armies just are going to be annihilated. And listen, from a viewer standpoint, I'm going to enjoy the visualization of hundreds of thousands of troops just getting absolutely wiped off the map. But it's really kind of a very small part of the overall overarching point of the war, right? So,
right. I mean, it says the war will be fought, many will die, and the victor will eventually ascend the throne. What's unfortunate about that is the many that die are dying at the hands of a force that really you can't reckon with it. Like, all of these guys that you see right here in this frame, as Sean is fast forwarding, they look just like the Lannister army from season 7. You line them up that way, and it's just like gas to a match. You just poof, and they just turn to ash instantly. So I don't think it matters how many tents you've got or how many foot soldiers you've got. This particular type of showing what they've got in the trailer, or in this teaser rather, what they are showing is rather inconsequential. Now, I will say this scene with the beheading is very important, because it's going to be a struggle for mankind to assert their place in this world. If you are not a dragon rider, what kind of power are you able to assert? What type of control are you able to show over your fellow man? Because it's going to be all about the dragons. Everybody's going to be all about the dragons. If you don't have a dragon, what kind of power are you going to be able to express? And I think there's very few greater signs of strength or power than being an executioner or being somebody that sentences people to their deaths the way Rhaenyra is going to have to be. She's going to have to order soldiers into battle to go to their deaths. And there's a certain moral compass that is going to go astray on both sides of this fight. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we getting a little bit of an ice storm here, so it may happen again. We'll see. Hopefully not. Let's go back and watch the rest of this trailer.
That's such a Canadian statement, by the way. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We're having ice up here.
What can you do? Ari Glues.
There is no war so hateful to the gods. There's a war between kin. And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.
And there you have it, a teaser trailer for House of the Dragon Season 2. I'll let you guys have at your thoughts of the entire teaser, but can I just say kudos to Ryan Condal and the HBO marketing team and WBD, because in a day and age where everybody feels the need to spoil the entire movie in a 3-minute teaser followed by a 3.5-minute trailer, this was essentially less than a minute long. And for those that haven't read the source material, it didn't give anything away and yet got you excited with visuals, with the score, which, by the way, is mostly new. It is tremendous. Like, to me, this is proof you can still sell media without giving the whole thing away in a 3-minute bit.
I think it's also a testament to how popular this franchise is, that there's a lot of franchises that have to do what you just described. They have to give a 3-minute teaser, and then they have to give a 3.5-minute trailer, and then they have to give a 2-minute behind the scenes documentary featurette type of thing with the different actors talking about their character and their role from like an acting chair in costume, all that sort of stuff. Those are the types of things that other franchises have to do in order to get you excited. All you have to say is dragons, and people are going to be watching this show. So I think the other thing too is with George R. R. Martin being so involved in it, and having somebody like Condal in such a key role, you have a very good understanding of what you've got, and you make it work for you. And I think that's what this teaser really does, is it shows you that they know how to make this content and make this franchise work for them instead of giving away too much and trying to oversell it to the community.
Agreed. I mean, at the end of the day, this is the biggest franchise in the history of television. And, first episode, 20 million people watched the show. It is HBO's golden goose. It doesn't need to be sold. People are going to flock to it. And, again, what we were talking about earlier with just the social media presence, you give the fans a minute and 25 of material, and they are going to give you 4 months of run on social media with everything, theories and concepts, right? That's all you need. It sold itself. You're hooked. I'll see you in April when this thing releases. Let's go.
I think what's also interesting, Sean kind of popped up the article very quickly, but Entertainment Weekly mentions that the footage that's shown in this teaser is different than the one that was shown to the media during a New York City look-ahead presentation just a month ago. So what's interesting to me is that they have enough content out there to show something to the Entertainment Weekly folks that's different from what they've shown to the public. I think there's a very good chance that the stuff that was shown to the media is more revealing than what has been shown publicly, as a way of helping self-promote almost. There's a lot of agencies out there that you have to do like paid marketing for. But if you're able to craft your material properly, then you're going to have places like EW and IGN and BuzzFeed and whatever else is popular right now. They're going to create those articles for you. Instead of having to pay marketing, you just show them the stuff that's really, really cool. And then everybody has to take those reporters' words for it until they can see it for themselves. And so I think that's a really clever strategy that, you're going to get something in one place that's different from what gets viewed in another place. And everybody has to kind of corroborate what they saw in order to get the big picture of what you can expect next summer.
Zach, I'm having some tech issues here, so do you want to get into this article and I'll scroll down when you need to scroll down, but I need to deal with something for a moment?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, it quotes Princess Rhaenys, played by Eve Best, and we've touched on that quote a little bit about how the gods don't care for a war between kin, and that a war is going to be bloodier than ever when it involves dragons. And then the new footage was supposedly gathered in Brazil for the CCXP convention, and then HBO kind of, as they say, beefed up the reveal by confirming a large batch of actors that are going to be part of season 2. One of the most notable is going to be Cregan Stark. If you scroll down a little bit there, buddy, Cregan Stark is going to be played by Tom Taylor from The Dark Tower. But then you're also going to get Clinton Liberty from Normal People. You're also going to get Jamie Kenna from Children of Men. You're going to get Kieran Boo from Warrior. You're going to get Tom Bennett from David Brent, Life on the Road. You're going to get Vincent Regan from the very popular One Piece. And then, as I mentioned, Tom Taylor is going to round out this cast. And so it's really, really interesting to see that something that was considered an ensemble cast in season 1, there were a lot of moving pieces between the greens and the blacks as you try to figure out who's going to side with whom. And now there's a host of new characters being introduced here as well. It just is going to add so much depth and is going to provide so much world building, much more than even what we had in the first season.
And I think that just touches on referencing season 1, how ancillary it was. The whole story, for all intents and purposes, was told inside King's Landing, right? Like now that the war is on, and now you have to pick a side. We're finally growing out to the world, and we're going to actually start seeing maybe more familiar places that we didn't get to see much in season 1 that we were used to in the original Game of Thrones series. So now the cast is really picking up steam, and we're going to get to really see these characters come to life in a much bigger, as you said, world building way.
This other part of the article describes Emma Darcy with a very ash-stained face for the part of Rhaenyra. I think ash and smoke are going to be very key parts of this second season. I think there's going to be a lot of that to look forward to. Matt Smith was one of my favorite pieces of season 1. I know that he was kind of split among some of the fans just because a lot of them are also Doctor Who fans and they can't see the Doctor playing somebody in Westeros, but I absolutely could. And it's going to be cool to see how the two of them play off of each other in the second season. And then, this is just a description of a years-long conflict in Westerosi history that devastates the Targaryen Empire. The article reads, Season 1 laid the groundwork for the coming devastation, with Rhaenyra being her father's chosen heir, but then Otto Hightower had other ideas, and you see how some of those other ideas played out, but it all stems from Lucerys's skirmish with Aemond, played by Ewan Mitchell, who was another bright spot in season 1, in my opinion. And that skirmish that probably shouldn't have even taken place is going to be the thing that unleashes hell in second season. That I truly don't know if we're fully prepared for what's coming. I know that we can talk on it. I know we can speculate it all we want. But at the end of the day, are we truly ready for season 2? I don't know if I am. Like, I'm excited, but I think the things that they have shown in this teaser and the things that we know to come, I don't know if I'm fully ready to see all of that on my screen. Any other final thoughts on the EW article, guys? Like, a lot of it is recap. The only new content that we get in this is some of the quotes from the teaser, which we saw, and the casting information for season 2. A lot of the EW article is basically just retelling us stuff that we pretty much already know.
It is not letting me pull up the other article. I don't know. Things are haywire since my power went out. So I don't know if you already pre-read through that, but are you able to go over some cliff notes about it?
I am. Yeah, I definitely am. The other one that we were going to be pulling from is from Esquire. And the article literally says everything we know about season 2. And Francesco Orsi, the executive vice president of drama series at HBO, affirmed back in May that they were targeting a summer 2024 return, while the network was focusing on The Last of Us and The White Lotus as well. She said, "We have a beautiful cast that was assembled by Kate Rose James, and we are proud of seeing how those scripts are coming alive. The emotionality that the cast is bringing," I don't even know if emotionality is a word. "The emotionality that the cast is bringing to it is something that we feel confident with and know that is going to deliver something special." Because it was a British acting union, they were able to film during the strike, so everything is on time for them. And what's really interesting, I'm trying to see where it picks up, but it was talking about how Condell promised in an interview not too long ago that we are going to be seeing 5 new dragons in season 2. This is straight from Ryan Condell making an announcement at a convention somewhere, I believe, that we are getting 5 more dragons that we haven't seen from season 1. So, Ryan, we were touching earlier about how foot soldiers may be somewhat meaningless in a war for dragons. How excited are you at the prospect that we're going to be seeing the return of, players like Caraxes and Vhagar, but now we're also going to be getting 5 new dragons never been seen before?
I mean, listen, that's a childhood fantasy right there, right? Dragons come to life. So I am super excited to know that there's more dragons, more, I guess, more. What does it mean? Like, that there's obviously dragons have different sizes and different abilities. So, knowing that they're obviously going to introduce more, is going to give us more opportunities to I guess expand the riders, right? Like, who's going to be riding those dragons, and who's going to have that extra power that maybe we haven't seen yet. So, what that means for the overarching politics of the regions and the war, and who's going to be able to come out on top from that is exciting. And again, like, at the core level of all things human, right? Like, when you're faced with the decision of kill or be killed, you're going to do what you need to do to survive. And you with this introduction of new dragons, more death, more just aggressiveness, I think, from both parties, it's just going to ramp up even more. What each battle means, and what the outcomes would have, and how that's going to determine who's going to actually sit on the throne at the end.
Well, the two big players. I'm sorry, Sean. Did I interrupt you?
Oh, I just wanted to say that the one thing I appreciate about House of the Dragon is, like, the dragon models are different. They don't all look the same.
Right.
Now, I don't know if in the literature, I can't remember, if Daenerys' dragons are all supposed to look the same, but in the show they do. They're just different colors. They might as well be twins or triplets. But with House of the Dragon, what we obviously get multiple variations of dragons, and I'm just curious if we're going to see further variations from what we've already seen on screen. I suspect we will. I do think that's one of the more unique things about it is, it's not just the same dragon with a different color on screen. It's like meeting
Right.
a whole new character.
Well, they all have different personality traits, and that's something we've talked about during our episodic reviews over on the Legacy of Westeros YouTube channel. They are as much a character as the ones that have lines, because Vhagar is like the oldest and somewhat grumpiest of the dragons, and she was just kind of fed up with what was taking place over the Stormlands and decided to take matters into her own jowls, and that's what leads to this whole thing. And so the fact that they have those types of personalities and that they don't listen strictly to their dragon riders is part of what makes them so dynamic. The two that are playing for the throne the most would be Aegon II and then Rhaenyra, of course. And both of those actors have provided statements about their character's outlook for season 2. And if y'all are okay with that, I'm going to read some of those snippets that have been pulled over on the Esquire article. Emma Darcy spoke at one point about how the moment that she, being Rhaenyra, receives the information of Luke's passing, the attempt at meditation crumbles. I don't think there is any longer the bandwidth to suppress and repress her nature. I'm excited to discover what happens when Rhaenyra does less navigating and more acting on her instincts and desires. Sean, what's your take on Emma Darcy's interpretation of her character in season 2?
I think it's going to be a more controlled version of Daenerys at the end of season 8 of Game of Thrones. So, I would argue that, at least on a human level, the loss for Rhaenyra is probably deeper than what Daenerys goes through, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. And that, to me, is why I feel like she would be more unhinged than Daenerys. You lose your kid at the hands of your relatives, and you're just completely pissed off and want to raze everything to the ground.
I 100% agree, but she already has a spouse that's going to do that. So
True.
I think that she will take. I definitely think she's out for blood, obviously, with what's to come in some pretty sick, sadistic ways. But I also think she's smarter than Daenerys was at the end of Daenerys' run. Like, Daenerys is so young, not to say that Rhaenyra's not, but Rhaenyra grows up with all the other Targaryens and in the system, and Daenerys grows up as a complete outsider who's expected to go across the narrow sea and break the wheel, right? Like, they're two very different standings, and where Daenerys had to, I'm not saying Rhaenyra didn't have to earn her support, but it was kind of already there for her, and Daenerys had to go out and find her army. I just think Rhaenyra has the ability to approach this differently, but I suspect that we will absolutely, when the time is right, see unhinged from her. But again, I think it'll be more of a controlled unhinged. I don't think she's going to go burn babies alive in the middle of the street.
Is controlled the word, or perhaps calculated?
That might be a better word.
I feel like there's a certain meaning behind the word control where you are like exercising self-control and you are like holding yourself back. I think when the time comes, she's not going to be holding back, but I think she's going to be deliberate about choosing when that time will be. And when that time does come around, that is when she will just be Dracarysing the hell out of everything. And so I think that's the difference, is she's got more of a strategic balance about her where she'll be able to pick and choose her moments to maximize the destruction from her anger rather than the blind destruction that Daenerys unleashed in season 8.
Agreed. I mean, she knows how to play the game, right? Like, she's lived the life, as you said, Sean. She's lived her entire life in the game. She's been fighting for her place in the game since she was a young girl, right? So, being calculated and methodical and clever are things that she's had to be all the way up until this point, and that's going to be a tool in her tool belt that should theoretically give her an advantage in the upcoming fight. And when she needs to turn it up and just be vicious and uncork, just destruction amongst the world, she will do that. But she has, I think, the ability to be restrained and use it when it's right.
Meanwhile, her counterpart, Tom Glenn Carney, who plays King Aegon II, had a few things to say about his arc in season 2 as well. He said, "I'm looking forward to having Aegon have a lot more meat to get his teeth stuck into and to cause more havoc, which he does so well." He was asked if we would see Aegon riding Sunfire, his dragon, in season 2, and he said, "All I can tell you is that we're training very hard, and we are making sure our bodies are in good enough condition for how strenuous season 2 is going to be." So he didn't outright say yes or no in that instance, Sean, but it sounds like there's going to be more of Aegon, and it's going to be a little bit more in depth than what we got in season 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think there has to be. I mean, the loss of Viserys leaves a massive size crater in the middle of the show. Like, Paddy Considine put together a incredible performance in season 1 that he was absolutely snubbed for. And I think he leaves just such a massive hole in this show that people are going to have to step up. But you know what? The one thing Game of Thrones did is people always stepped up. Like you mentioned towards the top of the show here, that you got new people coming on.
You good?
Yeah, it's now muting itself and unmuting itself on its own. Okay. So,
Oh, fun.
yeah. Think about when we met Stannis. Season 2. Davos. Season 2. Lady in Red. Season 2. Like, some of the most important characters don't come in right at the beginning of the story.
Cregan Stark. Cregan Stark. Cregan Stark.
The Starks definitely have a role to play in this that kind of shapes history in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Winterfell and seeing the different alliances. Like Ryan, you were mentioning earlier, the idea of leaving King's Landing and forging alliances, I think is going to be a big part of this season 2. So you know exactly how many forces you have. Are there any particular parts of Westeros that you're looking forward to seeing in season 2 as they form these alliances and start heading towards the battlefield?
From my perspective, I think you're just chanting his name, Keegan Stark. Like, House Stark obviously is the protagonist of the original show, and their overarching story and what that means, is something I'm very excited about. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays. And again, now we're rolling back to how are they going to be able to help, right? Like when you're talking about numbers and we're introducing, and we have dragons and more dragons and more dragons. I am curious to see for the non-dragon riding contingent how they're going to play into this battle. And I am very excited to see that.
Well, I think one of the big things that's going to be important is going to be terrain. And the north, as you know, is very mountainous. And I think if you're able to establish a line of dragons and a line of soldiers in a position that makes the mountains and the land behind it defensible, the north, as we have seen from various pieces of media, whether it's TV or otherwise, the north is massive. And so if you're able to get that portion of the continent under your control, you have the inside track to be able to swoop south and take other parts of Westeros very, very well. And so the strategic importance of Winterfell in the north cannot be stressed enough. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. And you're going to be recruiting the master of ships. What does it look like to have a navy versus not have a navy? You're going to be recruiting places that have big open fields where you can have open warfare. I want to say like the Reach has places like that. And so, what kind of strategic battlefield driven advantages are these different sides going to be trying to take, and how is that going to play out when the dragons actually dance? Man, I was so close to landing that one too. When the dance is actually dragon. No, when the dragons actually dance. The Dance of Dragons is just a few short months away, folks, but it's about time for us to start wrapping things up. Sean, any final thoughts on this teaser or season 2 as a whole for us to be getting excited about and looking forward to?
Not so much the show itself, but just a lesson I've learned the hard way on more than one occasion. Take the time to enjoy the ride to get there, the speculation, the entertainment, the promotion, because 8 weeks will go by like that, and you'll be waiting 2 years again.
Hopefully not. Hopefully the production will be able to pick up, and as we mentioned, seasons 3 and 4 may come out sooner than 2 years apart. But again, that's the speculation side of things. Ryan, any final thoughts from you?
Well, again, for me, the wait has been the longest part, literally and figuratively. It just, getting so excited about season 1, and then there's been such a big gap that, I moved on to other things and haven't really thought about it. And then now we finally have the teaser, the visualization that, okay, we're back, there's more, has really just ramped up that excitement level. And again, you show me a dragon, I'm hooked. I'll see you in 4 months, 5 months when it's time to go. So I agree with the statement of enjoy the social media. In today's world, that is what we're going to live and die by, and just soak in the stories, soak in the hypothesis, and even participate in it with it. And just because that is what, what's so enjoyable and fun. It is interacting and being able to enjoy this experience with a huge fan base, and that part is what I'm excited to get back into.
Very true. And Ryan, where can that fan base keep up with you when they're not tuning into that Fandom Show or Legacy of Westeros?
So, as you can see by my I'm Yant Racing 45 on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. You can also find me on Facebook. I run a lot of the Colleague Racing fan pages, so you can find us on Colleague Nation, you can find us on Dinger Nation, and now even at just Colleague Racing. So I'm very active and interactive with our racing community on that side, so come and see me over there.
That's awesome. Sean, you mentioned earlier today, what kind of a loaded slate you have going on. Is there anything in particular that you want to highlight to the folks at home?
If you're watching live, stay tuned, because in just a few minutes' time, we're going to talk about the release window for the Halloween TV series. There's a reported release window, and we'll discuss it and more on Tonight in Haddonfield with Mr. Mean Dean Renner. And also, if you're not watching live and you're watching this as a standalone Westeros video, we did another one of these where we discussed the teaser for Legacy of Westeros. And if you're listening and watching on both, then you can also check out tomorrow night Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope watch party commentary, whatever you want to call it, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going back in time to 1977 to watch realistically 2011, but Star Wars A New Hope watch party tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and then Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. How can AEW improve in 2024? And then next week, we won't be live. We're recording this as well tonight after the live episode. Is the best of Halloween 2018, and you'll be able to catch that, I believe, Boxing Day next week, December 26th. So be on the lookout for all of that, and social media, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. What about you, Zach? Where can everybody find you, man?
Well, I'm laying low for the time being, but in January and February, there's going to be a lot of announcements on that social page that you see on my little nameplate. So be sure to go follow at Zach the Voice, ZACH the Voice. But in the meantime, doing a lot of traveling and doing a lot of stuff with family for the holidays. happy holidays, everybody. Hope that it's safe and warm and enjoyable as we get ready to ring in the new year. 2024 is going to be a big one for this channel and going to be a big one for all of us individually. I'm going to go ahead and speak it into existence that there's going to be a lot of growth and greatness ahead for this Fandom Empire channel and the hosts, as you see here on the screen. But be sure to follow the socials. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure to follow the Patreon if you want even more exclusive content than what you saw tonight. There's a lot of really great stuff out there, but you're going to have to go and explore for those things yourself. For Ryan and Sean, I am Zach, signing off for now, and we'll see you all next time right here on Fandom Empire and the Legacy of Westeros.